Sounds right. Welcome to South End Supporters Presents Red vs. Blue, your weekly Premier League series. Erik Cole alongside the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff. Dave, we had an international break this upcoming weekend, so for us United fans, that's always nice because that's a whole weekend where we didn't lose a game. That's the way we look at it nowadays. But, yeah, Premier League's back this weekend, but before we get to the weekend, how are we doing today?
Could not wait for the Premier League to be back because the U.S. men's team didn't have any qualifiers, but still somehow managed to make them put themselves in a weaker position. With the loss to South Korea, but then a really good effort against Japan. So you leave that international break with more questions than answers, I think. But have to get back in the groove, in the fall Premier League groove for sure.
Do you like the fact that they're in discussion now with like trying to add a few more like international friendlies here coming up to because I think Poch is really noticing that things aren't going maybe the way he was hoping with those games. I think they added Portugal and I think Belgium was also in discussion with like higher quality prior to the World Cup. Do you like that?
Yeah, I do because I think that he needs to make a damn decision as far as okay, by the time January rolls around, you really need to have an idea who your team is. And been playing a lot of MLS guys, and you've had a lot of former regulars either be left off the squad or be injured or whatever. So we think logically we know who should be on the team in June of 26, but we really don't want to not have an idea of what I think realistically you should know at this point what your starters are going to look like with everybody being healthy. But now it comes down to what your depth looks like. And the reality is you have some competition in some positions like at the 9 and in the central midfield and then at the wing back that you could end up, with some decent depth, but you need to make that decision and you need to make it in the next 3 months because those guys are going to need time and they will need some friendlies to play together. I don't know. Like I said, I think there are more questions than answers still at this point.
Do you think in those friendlies he's going to be still calling up the full squad, or do you think those rotation players are who he's going to be looking to bring in to, as a big trial?
I don't think there's any more time for trials, man. Whatever friendlies you have next, that needs to be your team. As much as you want to give some of these guys opportunity, to fight for their spot, you can't blow this World Cup. You can't not. You cannot get grouped. It would be absolutely almost as big of a disaster as missing the World Cup in I guess that would have been 18. Yeah, 18 when they missed it. It would almost be as big of a disaster if you got grouped out in this World Cup.
Yeah, that's I agree with you on that, but. Yeah, international window's over, but what else ended here recently? I think it's still open for certain leagues, which is confusing. But the Premier League transfer window ended. A lot of sign. I feel I don't know if it's just because, especially now that we're doing this segment on the show, I've paid a lot more attention than I did in the recent years. I think in the past couple of years, I kind of noticed obviously what United signed and maybe some of the top 6 clubs, but I was noticing, and maybe this is more with we've talked about the influx of spending that is going on within the Premier League. A lot of lower level teams are attracting now bigger talent and stuff, and so it was a big spending transfer window for sure. Obviously, as you go along throughout the years, the transfers get higher, so you can't really say off of money, but who do you we'll start out with this. Who do you think, as far as team-wise, really stood out and shown as far as, they almost, won that transfer window?
Well, the winner is real easy. It's Liverpool.
I agree.
Liverpool, between off-season and then bringing in, Isak, which is the biggest signing in their club's history, and I believe it's the second biggest signing in Premier League history.
I think right behind So I have the numbers of what Liverpool brought in. So they spent 150 million. I believe this is in pounds. 150 million pounds on Verts, then 130 million pounds on Isak, 85 million pounds on Ekatike, 40 million pounds on Kirkes, and then 35 million pounds on Frimpong. So I don't ever want to hear a Liverpool fan say anything on City or United or any of these teams, that they say, because remember it was Klopp a couple years ago that was like, yeah, those teams have been ruining the Premier League with their spending. Liverpool far and away outspent everybody this year. And I think,
Yeah.
when you're at the top, though, like as we discussed, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, you kind of have to keep that going to stay at the top.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you need such a deep squad anymore. And I will also say that they did some damn good business in this window. It wasn't a buy high, sell low situation. I mean, they also were able to offload Luis Diaz to Bayern for 75 million.
Yep.
They got somebody to take Darwin Núñez. He goes to Al Hilal for 56 million.
Yep.
And then they offloaded some depth pieces. Harvey Elliott left.
Harvey Elliott.
Simicast left. So it's not as if they were operating. They're a pretty consistently profitable club anyway, so they have no issues with financial fair play. And they're not just adding for the immediate too. They signed Giovanni Leone from Parma, who is really touted as being like the next Italian superstar. I think he's 18. Yeah, he's 18 years old. So, yeah, I would say without a doubt, they were the winners. I would think, obviously I think Chelsea had a good window, and we'll get into that more when we're talking about individual teams. But Tottenham, if Tottenham had gotten Eze, Tottenham would have been right up there with Liverpool. I mean, as far as like quality of window, they get Xavi Simons from Leipzig. That's big. That's a big get for them. Go ahead. What you're gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say on Eze. I was just gonna say had they got him, where the way I would have looked at where they would have probably won the window is like, what additions did you add to best improve your squad? Like Liverpool from last year was already a very, very good squad, and while they did improve it with those signings, I felt like Tottenham, it would have, from based off of their last season, the talent that they added would have exponentially improved their squad, I think, more than what Liverpool did from their previous squad. And that's where I think you look at who maybe won the transfer window.
Yeah, I say Tottenham, talent-wise, night and day from where they were a year ago. Now they get Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. They get João Palhinha from Bayern. We mentioned Xavi Simons. They get Kolomouani from PSG. That's a huge get for them. So, yeah, I would say Spurs had a really strong one. I would even say, and we'll get more into United, I think United ended up having a good window. Like, I don't want to get too far into it. From a business standpoint, the numbers don't look great, but I think United ended up having a great window to make themselves more competitive. I mean, it sure makes this week more interesting. Mm-hmm. I think losers, number one, you got to go to Newcastle. Newcastle has to be the biggest loser of the window, although they did bring in Voltemade from Stuttgart to kind of, stop the bleeding a little bit. But, I mean, just the Isak saga, I just thought they took such an unnecessary, and maybe it was a negotiating tactic, but it seemed like it was such an unnecessary, like, okay, he wants to leave. You're going to get a crap load of money for him. Why are we making a bigger problem in the dressing room than we have to? He's training not with the team, but like at the facility still. Is just neither of the sides look very good coming out of there. But at the end of the day, they made the right move. I mean, you have to cash in on that. He will never live up to that amount of money because he's not like this world-class striker. Like, my opinion, he's not. Madrid's not going to come after Alexander Isak. Like, I don't think so. I think that I don't know. I think he's really good and borderline great, but I just that money. That's like Erling Haaland money. What Erling Haaland should be getting. That's like Cristiano Ronaldo money. I think Liverpool needed that player. They identified they needed that player. They overpaid for him, and he'll never pay off that contract. But he's exactly what they need. Now it's all relative. If they win the league and get him in the Champions League, you can say, okay, he paid off the contract. I'm talking monetarily. That was an overpay for a really good, if not great, player.
Yeah, I find he's one of those players, and only time will tell, but he's one of those players where it's tough to decipher, is he that great of a player, or is he such a good player in such a lower talent squad that he shines and looks, it was basically like, almost like kind of Cole Palmer's value for you guys, what was last season, where there were a lot of games where it was like, or Bruno Fernandes for us, for example, like if they didn't score, they were losing.
Yeah.
Like you needed,
Yep.
and to where I felt like Isak was kind of where he was like their guy, and it was just like if he scores, yeah they're going to be successful. Where I think Newcastle really messed that up was they had to have known they were always going to sell him. I mean, they knew the writing was on the wall. I know they were trying to act big and tough, and they were like, yeah, we'll wait him out, basically. But the player was, already coming out saying he was done. Why not, to your point, when the numbers are already there, I think the numbers stayed the same. It's not like they got any more than what they were wanting. Cash in and then use that money in the transfer window. They waited up until the last minute, and then they were stuck with, like you said. And then the other thing was, like, they just seemed to keep chasing targets that, like, 2 or 3 other clubs were really interested in. And then
Bigger clubs. Yeah.
Bigger club. And then they never came out with it. So I felt like it was us the year that we went after Bruno Fernandes. Is we went after him so long, and we had so many back and forths with Sporting Lisbon, that we had so many back and forths with them. We ate up our whole transfer window just in that negotiation saga. And then it was like, well, now all we're bringing in is Bruno Fernandes when we need so many more, things to add on. So I think that's where Newcastle. Yeah, I think you should have just realized on the wall. I think anytime a player, it rarely ever works. The only time I really think it ever worked was that I can remember, and this is just from my history, was when Rooney put in that he wanted to leave. I guess it was. There were promises that were made. It's kind of similar to the Isak situation, where it was like. It was the same year that they let go of Ronaldo to Madrid, and then like Tevez to City, and then all these things. And he's sitting there going like, wait a minute, we aren't bringing anybody in to replace them. And so there was that frustration he had with them in the club. Ultimately, Sir Alex convinced him to come back. He signed up. But we all thought, like as United fans, it was like, man, I can't believe he's gone. I can't picture him. And then I see the next day he signs a 5-year deal. And so, but that never happens when a player comes out and says, I've played my last minutes for this club. And especially nowadays with social media and everything so prevalent, it's like those are receipts that people are going to keep, and it's tough for like he was with those chants after the game in Newcastle, like he wasn't going to be welcomed back even if he did decide to stay. And then you're not getting the best out of that player, which to your point could be just a good player, not great that they were evaluating him at.
27-6 last year, 25-2 the year before. So again, great player. But second highest transfer fee ever in the Premier League. I don't know about all that. Other, if you want to call them losers of the transfer window, I would have to say Villa. I mean, Villa are just a weird team this year, that they're just kind of hanging out there, man. Like they're just.
I feel like
they're going to be a top half of the table, but just they didn't improve. Show me where Villa improved.
Any team that takes on Jadon Sancho is already losing.
I actually end up thinking that's maybe not that bad of a signing for them, because, I think it's low risk. Like, you bring in a player that's proven that he's talented, and worst case scenario, you send him packing after a year. I mean, to me, I get it. Other loser, I mean, how can you say Brentford's not? Brentford lost, basically their entire team from last year, and if we want to go a step further, they lost their head coach. And no, that's not part of the transfer window, but I mean, how do you not feel for Brentford at this point? They
Especially being
lose,
so strong last year too.
yeah, they lose Wissa to Newcastle. They lose Mbomo to Man United. Um, they lost one other major player too.
Yeah, I think it was another striker. Like
Yeah,
they lost a huge core of what made them so successful last
yeah,
year.
yeah,
Yeah, I think and we kind of touched on it the last episode. Like, I think Leeds didn't add enough. I think they're
yeah,
still just a bit of a championship. Same with Burnley, and I know that's so tough when you are that promoted side to bring in that talent that's going to keep you, draw to keep you up. You're adding an aging Kyle Walker. I don't think that's really, moving the needle too much. I just think you're in such a tough position. I think Sunderland kind of wrote it the best, in my opinion, where they're just so young and they just added a
yeah.
little bit here to maybe kind of keep them going. But
Leeds
again,
did get Okafor from Milan, and I watched a lot of Milan last year. That's one of the Italian teams I watch a lot. He was a good player for Milan last year, so I think that was a low key good signing. They got him for 21 million.
yeah,
So I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep him up. Wolves, poor Wolves, man, they just can't win for trying. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough go for them. So,
yeah.
so give me your thoughts on the overall United window and where you were at right now. I mean, they picked up Shesko, Mbomo, Cunha, some other less heralded signings. What are your thoughts at this point?
So yeah, I for those top three, we'll just go with those three. I'm very excited with Embuemo and Cunha. Hopefully, Cunha's hamstring stuff is minor. I think there's rumors that he'll still be available for the Manchester Derby, which will be huge because I highlighted he's my most excited signing that we brought in for sure. Sesko, I'm not sure. I think we just, as we were talking about with Isak overpaying, I think we overpaid for Sesko, just in the fact of. And this will also go back to another signing that we have. It's just one of those that they're saying, like, yeah, when he develops, he's going to be great. But they also said the same thing about Højlund. And we're just not in a position right now, anyway, to develop players. We need these players, when you go 15th, you need instant impact and not somebody that's going to develop. And what I've seen so far, you can tell he's a player that there's going to be a lot of talent there. He's got the height. He's very good in the air. But he's going to need to adapt, and he's even said in interviews the speed of the Premier League is so much more than he was mentally preparing himself, and it's more than he was even mentally preparing, which you always kind of hear with these players. But excited on those. I think the biggest miss obviously is not adding to the midfield. I know we were really going for Baleba, but sounds like there's plans for next year. But again, that does us no good for this year.
Yeah.
And that midfield is just not going to work, especially if he's not wanting to play Mainu over Fernandez or Mount. Then you're just wasting that youthful talent. And then Ugarte and Casemiro, you can't rely on them. As far as Casemiro, there's talent in the world. The legs are just going, unfortunately. And Ugarte, it's just not working for him. I'm happy, and I saw finished out today. Onana put out on loan, so that whole saga had to go. Simmons, my worry is they're comparing him to like De Gea, where there's so much talent. He's so long and lengthy, in that he will be. It's similar to Sesko, where they really tout him as he grows into the league, he's going to be really, really good. And that's the story with De Gea. De Gea's first year was that youthful shock of just like a lot of errors, similar to like what we were seeing with like Onana and Pioneer. It's just like there's a lot of youthful errors out of him, but they say as he develops. That's where it was tough with me when we were linked with Emi Martinez. As we spoke, I hate that guy. I wouldn't have wanted him on my team, but I think as far as a quick fix, he would have been the better option. So I think long term, Simmons is the better option, but I think quick fix, it would have been Martinez. So. And then with the outs, we really backed ourselves in a hole just giving such high contracts to those players. We were just never going to get the value out of, Anthony, and I think it was like 85 million for Anthony. We were just never going to get that. Sancho obviously on high wages. That's why he came back from Chelsea. Rashford on high wages. Hoyland, on high wages. A lot of up promise on that, but again, can you? So, but the thing is I'm glad that they at least got them out. Whether it was a loan, you just can't. Garnacho, like I would have loved to get more for Garnacho, but at the end of the day, you can't have players on such high wages, not even training with your team, and just eating up money. So I'm glad we at least got them out on loans or whatever it is. I think it's talks of like there's already talks of like Barcelona pulling a Sancho that you guys did and paying us to send him back because they aren't getting what they were hoping out of him, which I don't know how you can tell that out of 2 games, but whatever. But the way I look at it is you have to still just get them out of the squad because you have to, if you're going to progress and move forward, you can't have these things that are still negative that the press are going to be talking about because that's what that bomb squad was. It was just a distraction. And you have to, maybe eat a little bit of money here or there, but they're out. I think Sancho's wages are fully getting covered. Hoyland's wages are fully getting covered as far as the loan. Rashford, I think Barcelona's paying majority of it. And then, Anthony was a sale, way less than we got. I think we got like 23 million out of him. And then Garnacho, being an academy player, that was pure profit. But again, I wish we would have got more. So I'm looking at it as a win. Is it something that I think now, after watching United's performances, that I think is going to get us into that hopeful 5th or 6th spot? I'm not convinced on it. I do think it's a huge improvement from last year, kind of like you were alluding to a little bit earlier. So I think we did improve on a lot of areas, but unfortunately I think there's still just a little bit of weakness that is going to keep us from being great again. So I think it's a process. It's going to be a hurtful process throughout this year, and especially with this early start of the season. But I am, at the end of the day, happy. I'd give it a solid, we'll say B+. I think if we would have got a midfielder in, a center midfielder or Baliba, I would have been like, yeah, A all the way because you improved everything that you needed. But I think still missing that spot, and then with goalkeeping situation kind of still being up in the air, I'll go with solid B+. But I feel like you guys definitely had a good transfer window. Do you feel the same? I'm not sure as much on the outs as far as you guys, as much as the ins, but you guys have so many damn players. It's tough to keep track of who's in or out anymore.
Yeah, super squad. Before we talk Chelsea, I wanted to touch Arsenal because I know we have some Arsenal fans. Oh, Arsenal had a good window too. Bringing in Zubamendi, bringing in Christian Norgard, Mosquera, Gyökeres, who I still don't think he's going to be near. He'll never. I don't think he'll return the value on that either.
No,
although he's got a couple goals early. Their biggest signing was Eze, swooping in on Spurs like that, which is just awesome for the rivalry. But what might end up being one of their most important signings, especially early on, is Madueke. I thought they overpaid for Madueke. He's a good player, but getting almost 60 million fee for basically a backup striker for them, turns out it might have been okay because Saka's already hurt, and we know that he's got bulky hamstrings anyway, so that might end up being a huge move for them. But they had a great window.
Yeah,
Chelsea. Yeah, it's not about the massive moves. It's about the depth moves for the most part, right? Like getting Garnacho in. Garnacho is not going to take playing time away from Esteval. He's not going to take playing time away from João Pedro. He doesn't play the same position as Liam Delap. He's going to compete for minutes off that left side, forward side. I think that Maresca likes having 2 left-footed players that play the right side to cut in on the left foot for a shot, and 2 right-footed players to play on the left side to cut in for a right-footed shot. So I think he pairs really well with the combination of Esteval and Neto being left-footed, and then you've got Garnacho and Jamie Gittins being on the right, although I'm not super sold on Jamie Gittins yet either. I think that was an overpay. They bring in Ural Hato to be a backup left back, I guess, behind Cucurella. maybe some defensive midfielder time, something like that. So, yeah, I thought they had a good window. I mean, their biggest signing for the season so far is still João Pedro. I just
Yeah.
that dude and Esteval's he's got electricity in his legs, but I think as a complete player, João Pedro is already kind of showing this season that he's got something to prove. And I saw a report where he envisions something magical for Chelsea, or a magical story, I think is what he said today. So it's good to see him playing with some confidence. Chelsea did a good job of kind of clearing the deck, also with some depth pieces that weren't going to get time. Maybe took a little bit of a bath on some of these guys. And Nkunku goes to Milan for I think around 20 million less than they bought him for. Just never did work out with Chelsea. Never could stay healthy. Really, he got to Chelsea and got hurt. Chukwuemeka goes to Dortmund. That's not a bad move for him. Armando Broja, whatever you want to call him, he goes to Burnley. That's Burnley's biggest signing, was a Chelsea much often injured cast-off. Mark Gue goes on loan to Sunderland. Dewsbury Hall goes to Everton. But you got Nicholas Jackson out to Bayern. And that was huge.
And that one almost didn't go through.
Yeah, almost. So again, clearing the deck, giving guys time to settle into their spots. I thought they had a good window. It's hard to. It was less about improving. To me, it's less about improving the first team and more about improving the depth, because it's going to be a lot of games. They're playing a lot of games, and they had a long season. I mean, they had a month off after the Club World Cup, and they went all out to get that Club World Cup. So I was very optimistic, and obviously when January comes around, they'll be active because they always are. But no, it was a very good window. Chelsea have kind of figured out business of this league a little bit in the last year, 6 months.
Yeah, I feel like you're exactly right. Adding depth, and the thing is that you guys have continued to do is adding young depth, which is again scary because you have so much talent as it is, and then if they're just young, they're staying together. It could be scary future. I think you're maybe still waiting out this Liverpool Arsenal era, but I think if you continue to grow the way you have been, I think you'll be in the discussion for the title race. Was there any area of Chelsea that you were hoping they would have improved that wasn't addressed during
Center
this window?
Center back, 100%.
Losing. Were you linked with anybody? I didn't really see you.
No, not particularly. Unless they're planning on maybe playing Hato there, which I don't think so. That was the biggest miss for me. So you're going to go now with Tosin and I guess Trevor Chalobah as your starting center backs, unless you're going to do something crazy and put like Reece James there, or you're just going to play a back three. But losing Caldwell for the season, that is, to me, it was already a stretch for them to compete for the title. But having Levi Caldwell and having potentially to play Benoit Badiashile in a meaningful role, like for the majority of the season, if somebody else gets hurt, that is terrifying to me.
Yeah, it is funny how that reliance on somebody that you're like, I don't mind a rotation every once in a while.
Yeah,
being like the guy is where it's like that changes things for you.
Yeah, it's it was like the years that our buddy Jake had to deal with another certain Chelsea defensive midfielder that just would not ever leave the club, and he was always there. It seemed for like 20 years. And it seemed like every year somebody would get hurt, and look who's going to play more meaningful minutes.
Every time he's on my case about anything United, I just I'll just distract him and get him angry at his own team, and I'll just mention Obi Mikel, and then he'll just kind of go on his own little rant, and it's just like he'll leave me alone for another couple days while he's stewing on that.
Maybe for his 40th birthday, we'll get him an Obi Mikel Samsung. Chelsea mid 2000s blue. That would be awesome. Yeah. He would wear it too, for sure.
The great thing is we could probably get it signed and still not pay more than $40.
We could probably get it. We could probably get a game worn.
Yeah, we not even have to worry about it. So, yeah,
it's so funny because that dude was such a good player. He just he got old really fast and his skill set deteriorated really quickly, but he was still there, and
He's yeah, he
he's
was one of
kept
those
coming into games.
he was one of those players that I felt like, yeah, it's almost like Casemiro now, where it's like, man, talent wise, and you can't really hate the guy.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you're like, he's costing us a lot of
yeah,
money.
he's not good.
I think that's what Jake was. I mean, what I always loved is back when Jake and I used to have our FIFA duels. Like, he didn't make many changes to his starting 11 that FIFA already had preset for Chelsea, but there was always one that he was just like not even on the bench. He was like, I'll call up an academy
Pulling
player.
Obi Mikel out of the
Yeah,
game.
before I play Obi Mikel or anything like that. It was
That's
always
hilarious.
I always loved when he drank too much and then forgot to switch, and then he'd pass and he would realize it and just be like, "What the hell?" Like, like he would almost tank the game just for that aspect.
So speaking of FIFA, this is the first FIFA game I've bought in God, it's been so long, but I finally took the plunge and I downloaded the EA. I subscribed to the EA Sports.
Yes, yeah.
Whatever it is, EA Sports subscription on PS4, PS5. Sorry, and Zoe and I have been playing some FIFA Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's not. I mean, she's been playing for like 3 days. She's not bad. It is funny though. Like, I haven't played that game on a console 12 years, 15 years. It's like a glove though. Like, I'm back doing all the same stuff and dicking around with the ball and. It's good stuff. I'm not where I was, but I can still hit a bending curler while I'm moving away from the goal and tucking to the side netting and piss off whoever I'm playing.
There you go. Yeah, Jake and I were actually talking about that the other day. I texted him and we got on talking about that, and he was like, "Man, you'd probably smoke me now. I haven't played in years." And I was like, "Buddy, the last time I played like 11-11, not like controlling a full 11, was the last time me and you played." Jake, if I play now, I play be a pro. I just found it like they are so realistic nowadays that I remember like the last time I played and I was doing team manager. I remember Tom Cleverly just kept saying, "Boss, if you don't play me, I'm gonna leave." And I'm thinking, buddy, you're a 68 rated player. Like, dealing with like that type of stuff. Like, boss, I'd love to get this game. It's like, oh, the Champions League semifinals. I bet you would, youth academy player. Get out of here. Like. It's too realistic of like trying to juggle or you'd have your stars being like, "Hey boss, I need a break for this week," and it's just like, you're running ragged this week. I don't care. Like, I'm not rotating it out, but yeah, we may have to get like a down the road like a good old like SES FIFA tournament going or something like that.
Oh man,
just like,
I bet we would have a lot of listeners that would want to be a part of that too. Like jump online and do that.
I would almost want to do it, and I mean, obviously I'd participate, but I'd almost want to just like sit back and record all the trash talk that just goes on between, because the amount of stuff that comes our way just from South End submissions, I can't imagine the fun it would be just like talking trash to each other playing FIFA, and let alone like one of the best to do it would be Jake. So like, I mean,
that would be great.
He would be fun, but yeah. Last question I kind of had on the transfer window, and this is kind of something that actually David De Gea tweeted out, and I find it interesting. I want to know what your opinion on it is. Should the transfer window close before the season starts? Because right now it goes, about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the season?
Yeah.
A little bit longer than that. Do you think, to avoid all these like EZAC situations or these, like where it can really affect your first couple weeks of playing, do you think to just avoid all that, the Premier League should change it to where it ends before the season starts?
I mean, for like the security of some of these deals, it would make sense, right? Like, what would have happened if Isak had played and gotten hurt, or what if Eze gets hurt? It's a big deal. I don't know. I kind of
Banana and he pulled his hamstring.
I kind of like it. I kind of like the way it is. Like, I'm thinking about like the whole like the Mark Gahey situation that Palace have, how he wanted to go to Liverpool, and Palace were holding firm on their number and Liverpool wouldn't come off their number, and in the meantime Gahey's playing fantastic, and he had a good international break too. He scored a goal in qualifying, and he ends up staying at Palace. And I think a big part of that was how well he was playing, and Palace kind of seeing like, hey, we might have something here. Like, we've lost some guys, but like we might have a little something. So I kind of like it.
You like the little bit of a?
Yeah, I like the little overlap.
I think I do and I don't, but I do think that the last thing you'd want is maybe to prepare a full preseason with a player and then lose them on deadline day. And then now you're having to, like, at least you have pretty much preparations in place as you're starting the Premier League. And then it's easier, I would think, maybe to make adjustments on the fly as far as, like, you could see how the league has started. Or if rumors are going, you kind of, like, start prepping for that a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I do see plus it's also very convenient. You just know at the end of August it's done, rather than trying to think like, all right, the second week into August or whatever it is, that's where it's done. Like, I think it's maybe a little easier to keep track of, but yeah, that's an interesting. I saw that tweeted out, and it became kind of a big talking point on social media a couple weeks ago, and it was like, yeah, I'm curious to see what like a lot of people do think on that, which side of the track they prefer when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll get into this upcoming weekend's fixtures. I'm sure some of us are looking forward to it. Others of us are just let's go on to next week. But we'll kick it off with Saturday, starting out pretty hot actually, with Arsenal taking on Nottingham Forest. I believe Arsenal are home for this one, so they'll be at the Emirates. I would almost imagine like this is where you start to see like Eze get his a little bit more minutes, that type of stuff. Nottingham Forest dealing with all the drama with the manager leaving, which was just a weird situation.
We haven't talked about that. I mean, we've been out for 2 weeks, and this just happened this week. So
right.
Nuno Espirito Santo out at Forest after basically leading them to one of their greatest Premier League seasons in a long, long time. Get him a trophy. Or no, they didn't get a trophy last year. They finished in 7th. They were in contention for European play for a long time. But unfortunately, he clashed with their owner, and he's out. He clashed with their owner and sporting director. He's out, and Ange Postecoglou is in for Forest. So couldn't be any more opposing personalities and coaching styles. So yeah, it's a big one. It's Ange's debut. I think you basically couldn't have picked any worse team or worse venue outside of Anfield to debut against.
Yeah.
This one's got Arsenal written all over it for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think all the drama going around, and he'll tell you himself the lack of preparation that he'll even have working with this team, because even if some of the squad could be off on international break. I'm not sure how many international stars they have, but like lack of preparation. You're going to Arsenal. You're kind of coming in with a squad that maybe even really liked Nuno. Like, we don't know what the squad feeling was. We just know what the ownership and the sporting director's feeling was. I would like to think the squad be like, hey, he brought us a lot of success, and we were gelling with him. And then the other thing, too, is Ange, his famous quote is, I always win something my second year, but that usually means that his first year is a little rough. So, yeah. I'm going to go with Arsenal on this one. I think just talent-wise, they're just too strong and at home. And then Nottingham Forest's whole situation, I think that's where we go. Then we got Bournemouth taking on Brighton, probably a battle of two, in that middle section of teams. Both have kind of had highs and lows as far as how the season start. Bournemouth at home. Where are we thinking in the battle of the bees here?
Man, Brighton. 3 matches so far in the Premier League, 1-1-1, a 2-0 loss to Everton in Merseyside, but then they beat Man City at home. Mm-hmm. So that's a really weird start.
Yeah,
And then Bournemouth, had looked, pretty decent so far this year, to be honest. I mean, a 1-0 win versus Wolves, and they didn't play terrible that first game against Liverpool. I thought Liverpool were fortunate to escape that game with a win, even though they won 4-2, and then they beat Spurs. The week I was in Chicago, it was kind of weird, gritty, uninspired effort. But I mean, at this point, you got to lean Bournemouth, don't you?
I'm going to lean Brighton. I'm going to
You're
go the
lean
opposite
Brighton.
with you.
Interesting.
I think Brighton's trajectory has increased each week, whereas Bournemouth is kind of like one of those teams where let's see who we get this week. And I know Bournemouth are at home. I believe Bournemouth have the smallest attendance stadium in the Premier League. I think I saw the other day was a video of like showing the capacity of each stadium, and I think Bournemouth have the lowest. So not that that's means anything, but I don't know. I see Brighton continuing the trajectory up. They've looked pretty good in their games. Even the draw, I thought they were definitely the better of the team. Building off that City win, like you said, I'm going to lean more towards Brighton, but it'll be that's one where we don't guess draws on this show, but I could see that being
Wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. Yeah,
well contested draw. Yeah. Next, we've got Crystal Palace taking on Sunderland. Palace is going to be at home. I think this one's real interesting. Palace just lost so much talent this year, and then, like you said, the whole drama with the other transfer situations. Sunderland coming off of back-to-back wins. I almost want to call a wild card here and say Sunderland win, but that road is what's holding me up on that. Is them being on the road is where it's tough for me to give it to Sunderland.
The three teams that Sunderland has faced so far this year are in the bottom 6 of the league through 3 weeks: Burnley, Brentford, and West Ham. Sunderland are going to have to live off of home points against similarly skilled teams and maybe stealing away points against teams that end up worse than them. I don't think there are very many teams that are less skilled, you would say, than Sunderland. Crystal Palace is not one of them. And Crystal Palace being at home, I think they win this one fairly easily, to be honest. I think this is a 2-0 win. I don't think Sunderland take anything out of this game.
That's a great point that you bring up. I think Sunderland's going to be one of those teams that's riding high on the stadium light all year.
Yep.
They look forward to those games at home, that they can get the 12th man behind them and kind of feed off of that. On the road, I think they're going to be a team that struggles. So it's a great point.
And Palace, on the other hand, have tied Chelsea, they've tied Forest, and they beat Villa. So you're talking about two teams with completely different roads to get where they've gotten. This one is, to me, it's an easy Crystal Palace win. But it's the Premier League. You never know. You just never know.
And then I feel like we got back to going right into another one that's going to be, I think, a well-contested game. Maybe you wouldn't have thought it straight going into the season, but after the performances so far this year, I would say this is going to be a back-and-forth game of Everton taking on Aston Villa. Everton at home, I mean, always a great atmosphere at Goodison Park. Villa just you don't know what you're going to get this year with Villa. The draw, loss, win. You got a goalkeeper that was thinking he was going out. Wasn't even in the matchday squad, I believe, in the last game. I mean, was waving his goodbyes to the fans after the game. Now he's staying. Like you said, you added in, some decent, definitely talent-wise, whether or not they work in the system. And then Everton, win, loss, win. It's Everton. That's the team where it's like you don't know. They show up kind of for the big games, but you just never know with Everton on that one. I almost want to lean more towards I want to say a draw on this one. This one has draw written all over it, in my opinion. But I feel like maybe Everton just always seems to – where they shine the most is when they are at home. Like, that's just where I've seen so many late comebacks. You think of that one. I can't think of who it was, their captain who had the strike against Liverpool. That was at home. Like, they just – that atmosphere gets up for it. And so I'm going to maybe lean in the slightest towards Everton on this one.
Yeah, the numbers and the early results would have you believe that this has got to be Everton, just based on how they've looked so far. I think this is you're kind of rapidly approaching like must-win territory for Villa right now. I mean, they don't have a win through 3. They're 19th. This is not a small club. Aston Villa are supposed to be a big club. Like, they're one of the teams that we didn't expect them to compete for top four, but they should be in the top half of the table. They've had some time to, regroup the international window, the international break. I think I'm gonna give Villa to take the upset because desperation it needs to be setting in for them. It really does.
That's a great point. I mean, again, if I could write tie on this one, I think it's because I think both teams kind of have this realization of Everton's thinking like we got to strike while they're down, and for us, this is one of those games where we got to strike while they're down for us to stay competitive in the middle of the table. And then Villa, to your point, like has to be thinking like, hey, we were a European team just a couple years, last year. Like we need to get back to that, and it's getting away from us if we don't. So. That'll be one that I'll look forward to, checking out on Saturday morning. Also going on Saturday morning, same time slot, we've got Fulham and Leeds. Leeds, weirdly enough, with the better record right now with the loss, win-win. Fulham draw, loss in their last three. I feel like Fulham, talent-wise, is a little bit better. Leeds, they took on, a struggling Newcastle is where they got the draw. Then they, got dominated, obviously, by Arsenal. They actually beat Everton in the home opener. Again, that was at Ellen Road, so good atmosphere there. Fulham at home, I still think one of my favorite venues is Craven Cottage there, but I want to lean towards Fulham. I just think they're overall a better squad. I know, and I think Leeds is similar to what you said about Sunderland, just one of those teams that's just going to struggle on the road this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a Fulham win. Leeds on the road just are not an inspiring wager. So this is Fulham.
Mm-hmm. Then we'll go to Newcastle taking on Wolves. Newcastle at home. I think Newcastle is similar to the Villa situation, to where I think they're realizing like this is a must win if we even just want to stay close to even the European conversation, let alone Champions League or anything like that. I think I have Wolves as going down this year. I just don't see them being competitive, and especially going to Newcastle. I think Newcastle's going to take this one.
Remember the week before Labor Day, we talked about United having to win that game against Burnley, and how it needed to be convincing for us to kind of change our minds about the United trajectory. I think this has got a lot of the same vibe. Like, this has to be a Newcastle convincing home win to kind of make me think that, hey, this team can turn things around and be in the European conversation despite having a pretty crappy transfer window. They made some late signings that kind of bolster the squad. This has got to be Newcastle like 2-0, 3-1, 4-1, something like that. Wolves are not getting their first points of the season against Newcastle. So this is them easily. But again, to get me back on board with the Newcastle project and Eddie Howe, it needs to be convincing to me.
Great point. I like that comparison. And not just to get the Toon Army back on their side, because they turn quick and they get very boisterous. We saw that whole Mike Ashley situation years ago where that was a whole, like, they're passionate about their squad. And like you said, if they don't make it look convincing, I have that same feeling coming away from that Burnley game. It was just like, man, like, that wasn't convincing. I mean, we got lucky with the late penalty on that one so it's still up in the air. Next, we'll go to starting to get into the later games on Saturday. We've got West Ham taking on Spurs. West Ham at home. Spurs pulled the ultimate Spurs, like we said the last week.
Called it. 100% called it.
We were saying, like, we kept saying, like, this is the game where Spurs shows us who Spurs are, and they did. West Ham, I believe they bounced back this past their last game.
Yeah, they beat Forest. They put a beating on Forest.
You're right. Yeah, that was a. Do you see that? And then going back home, do you see that as the trajectory? A big opponent coming here, they ride that high. Do you think the international break kind of killed off that little bit of a high?
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is tough. I mean, it's a London derby. And West Ham, their other performances haven't exactly been inspiring. I mean, they played a a fiery first 20 minutes against Chelsea and took the lead. It took the lead twice, but the one goal got pulled back. I can't think that. So here's the turning point for Spurs now, right? Is Thomas Frank just another manager that falls into the pattern, the Spursy pattern, or does he pull them up out of that sort of rut that the club has been in for so long because he's that much better of a manager than the other ones before him? That's the big question. God, I don't know. And we don't do draws.
I think what happens here is similar. It's sad that I'm very much comparing a lot of this stuff with United, but I think Spurs get the win here just to like have people thinking like they're back. This is the Spurs. This is the talent that we know. And then they just continue to pull Spurs moments throughout the year and just, do this. This is the game I think we need to pay attention to our buddy Sperry, or Spursy as we like to call him, because this is where it all kicked off with him getting his nickname of Spursy, was West Ham taking on Spurs. So I feel like it sucks again because my teams play on Sunday and I can't talk trash to people who play on Saturday because I feel like it's just bad karma. But I'll let you do the talking for us and keeping track of old Spursy there this weekend. So I'm going to go, just for that reason, Spurs are going to come out on top.
You do get a look at Xavi Simons and Kolomwani first time this weekend, or the opportunity too. So that's a big boost in their talent overall. Yeah, I think this one, Spurs need it. I mean, both teams need it. I mean, West Ham is kind of battling to be in the relegation discussion or get out of the relegation discussion, I suppose. But yeah, I think Tottenham are going to figure it out here for 1 week at least, and then next week.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 1 week they just get you thinking like, yeah, that's where they are.
And then Champions League starts next week, so they got no time to think about being Tottenham. So there you go.
No time to think about it. No sympathy from this podcast.
I didn't realize Champions League started next week. That's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, that is exciting. Best time of year, like you were saying
Love it.
earlier in the week. By the way, I just want to say it because I love that you coined it so much that it was they were eating West Ham in the Ham Derby that happened the last couple weeks ago between Forest and there.
The Ham Derby.
Ever since you said it, that was just stuck in my head, so I was like, we have to address that again. And then the last game on Saturday, the late one, Brentford taking on Chelsea. Chelsea traveling to Brentford. I think Brentford's just, like you were highlighting, just going to struggle this year, and I think you guys are just really, really good. Really good. I could see this being one where you guys just should go in there and put a beating down, but I
don't act like you don't know exactly what's going to happen here after an international break with a bunch of guys that went and played for their national teams. You know exactly what's going to happen. This is going to be the grindiest ass 1-0 victory that Chelsea's going to have all season is what's going to happen. Or they find a way to drop points.
And Reece James is going to pull up with an injury. That just always seems to typically follow him around in some form.
It's like I'm talking it's like I'm talking to Dave Cole.
I got to bring his spirit onto the show because, if I'm not downing my own team, I got to at least down the person who's sitting across the table from me, but I'm at the end of the day, I still think you guys, like you said, it may not be ugly, I think, but you come out, I just don't see Brentford being that team. Palace, that's always the team that seems to just pull one out against you guys. Spurs in the London Derby always seems that there's certain teams that I feel like happen to get you. Brentford this year just doesn't seem like that team that's getting the big clubs. I think they're going to be preying on the teams within their realm.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. No Cole Palmer again. No Liam Delap. I don't know.
So what is Palmer's time frame? How long are they saying? They think he'll be out?
I mean, it was a groin injury, and it was prior to the international break. So I wouldn't be surprised if he missed a month altogether or more. I mean, they're not going to rush him back. He's too important. He's too important long term to rush back. So he's listed as doubtful for Saturday. So we'll see. I mean,
But like you
they
said, you've
they can
added so
field a
much
very
young
good
talent to fill
yeah,
him
they can
in if
field
he
a
can throw
very
these
good
games.
squad without him. It becomes a much different picture without an attacking. There's not another attacking midfielder on the team with his skill set. That's the problem. So it becomes less about like, okay, how do we replace Cole Palmer to, okay, what kind of team do we become without Cole Palmer?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to word it. Either way, come on, Brentford. I gotta throw that in there.
Stop it.
We'll move on to Sunday. We'll kick Sunday off with Burnley taking on Liverpool. Burnley at home. I don't think that matters squat in this one. I think it's going to be just another annoying Liverpool
Yeah.
dominating win.
The problem with Burnley, the problem with this game for Burnley is that they are going to want to play like a 4-5-1, and Liverpool excels at unlocking low blocks. They have time and time again for the last 7 years, 8 years. I mean, they usually wait till the very end of the game to do it. So let's not be surprised if this is like 1-1 in the 86th minute and they score, which, by the way, you can ask the youngest Roberts. I predicted to the moment the Soboslai goal in that game. To the moment. I told him, I said, I've seen this movie. He was worried about it. I told him, I've seen this movie plenty of times before. I said, Liverpool scores, and I think it was the 82nd minute. And I called it to the moment. It was just uncanny how predictable that game was going to pan out. Now, I didn't call a free kick, but much less a banger of a free kick like that. Yeah. But, yeah.
You're right. I would love to know Liverpool's scoring record after the 80th minute.
Oh, it's got to be just absurd.
Outrageous.
Yep.
Because every game.
It's crazy. It's the pressure. It's the constant pressure. It's just so relentless in attack and recycling and again and again and not ever taking the same. Like you watch some of these teams like Manchester City. Let's look at Manchester City versus Liverpool in possession right now. There's no danger when Manchester City have the ball. It's back and forth, and look for a cross, and if the cross isn't there, you swing the ball around to the other side. Liverpool have 5 guys on the field at any given time that are willing to take the responsibility of unlocking a defense. That's the biggest difference between them and the rest of the world right now.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right on that. That and just this is one of those games where I know I'll be like, if I'm not fully watching it as I'm getting ready for work, I'll be like checking in and being like, I can't believe Burnley's going to pull this off. And it's the 80th minute or whatever, and they're winning 2-0. And then it's one that I check back and I'm like, how'd they win 3-2?
No,
like,
you know,
you're just like,
you know
where did
too
that
well.
come from?
You know too well. Let's see. There's you've got some Serie A games at 8:00 if you don't want to watch. You've got a Bundesliga at 8:30 if you don't want to watch. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff if you don't want to watch. There may be a Formula One race around then if you don't want to watch.
Yeah.
It'll be on a secondary TV, I think, most likely.
Yeah, you'll watch one of the million pregame football shows that you'll see here in America.
Exactly.
With that. And then ruining my drive to work or the last game of Sunday, we have the Manchester Derby as City will be taking on United. City at home in the Etihad.
This is the ultimate big team battle, by the way. Like this is it right here. This is and it's red versus blue, although it's City blue and not Chelsea blue. But yeah, this is absolutely the big team battle of the week for sure.
This wins big team battle for sure. Anytime you have the Derby, the biggest thing is I love, and I'm not going to get overly hyped on it, but United show up in all Manchester derbies for some reason. They just worst seasons that we ever have. We still seem to at least give a game. Right now, City are in just as much of a weird spiral as much as United are. Both teams finishing off with the win their last game. I think a lot of it will depend on if Cunha is available. I think if Cunha is available, that sways things in our way. I don't see the new goalkeeper getting the start. That's from what I've been hearing. I think it'll really depend on what midfield partnership do we have. I think that's going to be what sways the game is who gets the start in that midfield position. I'll be curious to see especially now that Højlund's gone, does he, and with Cunha possibly not coming into the start, Does he start Sesko finally? And then what can we see from him from the start as far as like up in like one of these big pressure sort of games? Not really worried about like as far as being on the road. We've gone there before and gotten a result. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. I think it's just going to be a back and forth battle. I'm really, really hoping to see Manu get a start. He just always really shows up in these derbies, especially being an academy kid. It just means a little bit more. I think you got to ride the people in these types of derbies that you can tell it, like this means a little bit more to that person other than that. And Manu, I think, has to be in the starting 11. This is one I would want to pick like a late 1-1 draw, but I think one of these teams is going to pull one out late. I think it's going to be 1-1 for majority of the game, and then 75th minute on or so, one of these teams is going to pull out a winner. You know what? F it. 2-1 United. It worked earlier this year with St. Louis City, where I was just like, it was a game that we weren't supposed. I think it was Nashville, where I was like, yeah, why not? I'll just say 2-0, and we pulled that one out. So, you know what? Let's just get my hopes up again for another year, and let me have cause all sorts of issues driving to work. I'm gonna go 2-1 United.
Man City's injury dressing room is full. Kuzanov's doubtful. Gasko Guardiol's doubtful. Kovacic is out until October. Omar Marmoush picked up a knock in international play. He's questionable.
He's going to be out for a while.
Savinho's out, most likely. Kind of a bare bones Man City squad. Right for the picking, and you'll have a new look at keeper with Donnarumma. No more Ederson.
Yeah, good point.
And while Donnarumma is an incredible shot blocker, I feel like United can probably cause Man City a lot of problems in the press. If Donnarumma ends up playing, they've also got James Trafford, who did not show well in his first start for Man City. What the hell? I'll go with United. I'll go with United to pull one out. How about that?
How about that? Yeah, I like that. Now, I don't know. I almost feel worse about that because I feel like I need you against me, and that's usually
my picks have not been great so far this year. So
we shine the most. Yeah, I've been writing them down since the first week, and I forgot to go back over to see how well I did this past week. I think I did a little better, obviously, than the week before, but I'm feeling a little. This week I feel like has a lot of close battles, a lot more close battles than dominant over sites. The big team battle for sure is going to be, the Manchester Derby. I feel like that Arsenal Nottingham, could have had the potential.
It's got a big team. It's got a big team feel to it.
Yeah. And then anytime you add any sort of derby in there, you got the West Ham Spurs game. I think will be an interesting.
Yeah, that's a low key. If West Ham weren't so terrible, I would low key. I mean, even Brentford Chelsea is a London derby, technically. So, but I still think far and away. Yeah. I still think far and away it's the Manchester derby. I mean, how often do you get the only major game for a week is the major derby like that? Like usually it's at least sprinkled in, but this to me it's the game of the week, game to watch of the week, which undoubtedly means it's going to be boring as shit because that's what always happens with them.
Yep, I think. What do you think? More goals scored or more scratches on Pep's head for this game? What do you think?
Man, this is
that man has been scratching the hell out of his head whenever things aren't going going his way.
We'll see. I don't know, man. I wonder. Holland. Holland. Do you see Holland scored 5 goals against Moldova in that qualifier, and they had Astergaard, I can't remember his last name, scored 4 goals off the bench. They won 11-1.
Just what I need is Holland feeling good.
My thought was that maybe he would be rested, but they can't really afford to rest him. I mean, they have to win this game to keep up with Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree. I think weirdly enough is it's a battle of like okay defenses.
Yeah.
Very strong front three and then weak throughout the midfield. So I think maybe whoever can win that midfield battle gets the edge in who slights this one out, because you highlighted definitely this year that they they really lost a lot as far as like not replacing De Bruyne and like that type of situation.
Yeah,
Gundogan's kind of legs
it's
are
a
gone.
weird Man City year. It's a weird Manchester year altogether. Two teams kind of trying to find their future, trying to find their identity of the future.
We've been looking for that since Fergie left, so I don't know.
It's true.
I don't know if you're saying it's a weird year. It's been
Hey,
a century.
Mourinho dragged that red shitty side to second place. So don't act like it hasn't. Don't act like it hasn't had its ups.
It was funny the other day. I saw it was a thing where it said keep two, get rid of two, and it was Sir Alex, Mourinho, Klopp, and Pep. And like part of me felt like I should keep Mourinho because he did something for us. But it's like I don't ever want. I saw that. Did you see he's already been fired from?
Yes, Fenerbahce. Yeah, that didn't take long.
It was like the same week, or like within 2 days. It was like Ole got fired, Ten Hag got fired, and then Mourinho got fired. Like within the same week, it was like, geez, man.
So Poch is next, is what you're saying?
He never coached for us.
Oh, dude, I always do that. He coached for Spurs.
Yeah.
I always do that.
What's sad is I was really vying for him. I was like, I really want Poch.
I just assumed that at some point that Man United had him for 18 months and had sacked him for shitty performance.
He fits that. He fits like. If I wasn't a United fan, you could easily convince me that did happen because he fits right into that mold of like that would for sure be.
Yep.
What he
agreed.
Would do, yeah. So interesting fixtures coming up this week. It just feels good again having, like you said earlier in this week. It's just such a fun time of year as far as sports go. You got obviously whatever with MLS, but Premier League's really starting to get into its groove now, coming back. You got baseball still around, football's going though. It's a fun time. So happy to have the Premier League back. Anything else you want to add tonight before we get out tonight?
I mean, I would love to add the Chelsea song, but I know how you feel about that, so we'll leave that. We'll leave that for another time.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of messages and DMs of people asking you to just stop that. They said quit listening to this program.
If that's the case, then I'm never one to disappoint the listeners.
Let me just scroll it on over now and get it all set up. There we go. So. Again, another fun week. Thank you again so much for listening to Red vs. Blue. We look forward to it so much each week. Make sure you're following us on all our socials. On Instagram, we're South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is _podcast STL. Make sure you're also following us on our Facebook page and our YouTube to keep up with all things South End Supporters. Hopefully, I can get a run of good results, so then I feel the confidence to bring, Take Me Home, Glory Road, United back and get that song playing up here. But until then, we'll just keep eating it with your song. But great episode as always, a lot of fun. So for myself, Eric Cole, for the Monday Morning Center back, Dave Wyckoff, you've been listening to South End Supporters, and until next week, come on United.
Up the Blues.